I signed over primary custody of my son to my ex-husband 6 months ago, and now my entire family has turned against me. Before I get into this, please subscribe and hit the like button if you want to hear more stories like this. Also, drop a comment telling me what city you're from. I'd love to know where you're all watching from. Let me give you some context because I know how this sounds. I met my ex-husband, let's call him David, when I was 24. We got married after 2 years of dating, and I got pregnant pretty quickly after the wedding. Back then, I was working as a junior architect at a small firm in Chicago, making barely $45,000 a year. David was in sales, making around $60,000. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. When our son Alex was born, I took the standard 12 weeks of maternity leave. Going back to work was brutal, but we needed my income. David's mom, who I'll call Linda, offered to watch Alex 3 days a week, and we had him in daycare the other 2 days. It worked, kind of. But I was exhausted all the time. I was getting up at 5 a.m. to pump, rushing to drop Alex off, working 9-hour days, picking him up, making dinner, doing bedtime, and then staying up until midnight working on my portfolio because I knew if I wanted to advance in my career, I needed to show more. David helped, but not equally. He'd do bath times sometimes, or read a bedtime story, but the mental load was all on me. I was the one tracking doctor's appointments, buying clothes when Alex outgrew things, planning meals, organizing playdates. You know how it is. When Alex was 3, I got a huge opportunity. A prestigious firm in New York reached out to me about a senior architect position. The salary was $120,000, more than double what I was making. But it meant relocating, and David's entire family was in Chicago. He had a good relationship with his parents and his sister. He flat out refused to move. We fought about it for weeks. I remember one night specifically, standing in our kitchen at 11 p.m., and I said, "David, this is my career. This is everything I've worked for." And he said, "What about Alex? What about our family? You're choosing a job over your son." That hurt like hell, but I turned down the job. I resented him for it, though I tried not to show it. Our marriage started falling apart after that. I was bitter, he was defensive, and we barely spoke except about logistics with Alex. We separated when Alex was 5 and divorced a year later. The custody arrangement was 50-50, alternating weeks. Here's where things get complicated. About a year after the divorce, I got another opportunity. A different firm in New York, even better position, $140,000 plus bonuses. This time, I didn't have a husband to tell me no, but I did have a son who would be living in a different state from his dad. I agonized over this decision for months. I talked to Alex about it, trying to explain it in 8-year-old terms. "Mommy has a really good job, opportunity in New York. You could come with me, and we'd have a bigger apartment, and you could visit Daddy during holidays and summers." He cried. He said, "I don't want to leave Daddy. I don't want to leave my school. I don't want to leave Grandma Linda." I consulted with my therapist, my best friend Sarah, even my own mother. Everyone said the same thing. You can't take a child away from his father for a job. But I kept thinking, if I were a man, would anyone question this? If I were a father relocating for a 6-figure job, would people call me selfish? The guilt was eating me alive, but so was the feeling of my potential slipping away. I was good at my job. Really good. I'd won 2 design awards. I had ideas and ambitions that were bigger than the small firm I was at. And I was 31 years old, watching opportunities pass me by because I had a child. So I made the decision that's turned me into a pariah. I went to David and said, "I want to take the New York job. I think Alex should live with you primarily, and I'll come back to Chicago once a month for a long weekend. Plus, he can come to New York for school breaks." David was shocked. He said, You're choosing your career over Alex? What kind of mother does that? I tried to explain. I'm not choosing my career over him. I'm choosing both. I can be a present parent during visits and video calls, and I can also be the successful professional I've worked my whole adult life to become. You get to have both. You have your career and you have Alex full-time because you stayed local. Why can't I? He called me selfish. He said Alex needed his mother. I said, he has his mother. He'll always have me. But he also needs his mother to be happy and fulfilled, not resentful and stuck. We worked out the details with lawyers. I agreed to pay child support, $1,800 a month, which was actually more than the calculator suggested. I wanted to make sure David had everything he needed for Alex. We agreed on custody being primary with David, and me getting 1 weekend a month plus alternating holidays and 6 weeks in summer. When we told Alex, he seemed almost relieved. I think on some level, 8-year-olds understand more than we think. He said, "So I'll stay in my school and my room at Daddy's?" And when I said yes, he said, "Okay, but you'll still call me every night?" I promised I would. I moved to New York 4 months ago. The job is incredible. I'm working on a project that's going to be featured in Architectural Digest. I'm making more money than I ever imagined. I have an apartment in Brooklyn with huge windows and exposed brick. I'm fulfilled in a way I haven't been in years, but my family has turned on me. My mother calls me once a week to tell me I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. She said, and I quote, "No job is worth abandoning your child." I said, "I didn't abandon him. I restructured custody." She said, "That's what you're calling it?" My sister posted on Facebook, didn't name me directly, but it was obvious, about mothers who choose careers over their babies and how some women just aren't meant to be mothers. I called her and asked her to take it down. She said, "I'm allowed to have opinions, and my opinion is that you're being selfish." Linda, my ex-mother-in-law, sent me a text that said, "I always knew you loved your work more than you loved Alex. Now everyone else sees it too." Even my best friend Sarah has been distant. When I told her I was going through with the move, she said, "I support you, but I don't know if I agree with this decision." We haven't talked much since. The worst part was last month when I came back to Chicago for my weekend with Alex. I took him to Navy Pier, and we ran into one of the moms from his school. She looked at me like I was something scraped off the bottom of her shoe and said, "Oh, you're back in town. How nice of you to visit." Visit. Like I'm a distant relative, not his mother. Alex seems fine, honestly. We video chat every night before bed. He tells me about school, about his friends, about the basketball team he joined. When I visit, we have amazing weekends. We go to museums, we make elaborate breakfasts together, we have movie marathons. The time we spend together feels quality, not quantity. But I can't shake the feeling that everyone sees me as a monster. David's been decent about it, surprisingly. He hasn't badmouthed me to Alex as far as I can tell, but his family is another story. His sister posted a meme about part-time parents that I know was directed at me. I lie awake at night sometimes wondering if I made the right choice. I think about the version of me that would have stayed in Chicago, stayed in my mediocre job, stayed close to Alex. Would that version be happy? Or would she be bitter and resentful, watching her career potential slip away while her ex-husband got to keep everything? His location, his family, his career, and his son. But then I think about what my mother said. You're going to regret this when he's grown and you realize you missed his childhood. And I wonder if she's right. Am I going to look back in 10 years and hate myself for choosing this? The thing is, I don't feel like I abandoned Alex. I feel like I made a rational decision that works for everyone. David gets more time with his son, which he always wanted. Alex gets stability, same school, same house, same friend group. And I get to pursue the career I've sacrificed so much for. Why is that wrong? Last weekend, Alex and I were having brunch at this diner he loves, and he said, "Mom, are you happy in New York?" I said yes, I was. And he said, "Good. I want you to be happy." 8 years old, and he gets it. Why can't the adults in my life understand? But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everyone else is right, and I'm the villain in this story. Maybe putting my career first makes me a bad mother. Maybe the guilt I feel is deserved. I just needed to get this out because I feel like I'm drowning in judgment, and I don't know if it's warranted or if I'm actually doing something that, in another context, with another gender, would be completely acceptable. Things started getting really ugly about 2 months after I settled into New York. I got a call from David one Tuesday evening. His tone was cold, which wasn't like him. We'd managed to keep things civil for Alex's sake. He said, "We need to talk about Alex's therapy." My stomach dropped. Therapy? What are you talking about? Is he okay? David sighed, heavy and dramatic. His teacher called me in for a meeting last week. She says he's been withdrawn in class, not participating like he used to. She's concerned. I felt panic rising in my chest. Why didn't you tell me immediately? What did she say exactly? She said he seems sad, that he talks about missing his mom, that he drew a picture in art class of our family, and you weren't in it. That hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't in it? No, it was just me, him, and my parents. The teacher asked him about it, and apparently he said, "My mom lives far away now." I tried to keep my voice steady. David. I call him every single night. We FaceTime. I just saw him 10 days ago. Yeah, for a weekend. A weekend every month isn't the same as being here, and you know it. I heard accusation in his voice, thick and bitter. What do you want from me? I can't undo the decision. I'm here. I have this job. You chose that job. He interrupted. You chose it over being here for your son when he needs you. I didn't choose it over him. I chose both. Why do I have to sacrifice everything when I stayed? When I put Alex first? Yeah, I did that. That's what parents do. We argued for another 20 minutes. He told me he was taking Alex to a child psychologist. I said I wanted to be involved in choosing the therapist. He said, "You're welcome to fly back for appointments, but I'm making the decision since I'm the primary custodial parent." That phrase felt like a weapon the way he said it. I hung up and cried for an hour. Then I called Alex, like I did every night at 8 p.m. He seemed fine. Happy even. He told me about a funny thing that happened at recess. He showed me a Lego spaceship he'd built. There was no sign of the sad, withdrawn child David had described. I asked him gently, "Hey, buddy, how are you feeling about everything? About me being in New York?" He shrugged on the screen. "It's okay. I miss you sometimes." "Just sometimes?" I tried to keep my tone light. "Yeah, but you're gonna come visit again soon, right?" 3 weeks. I'll be there 3 weeks from this Friday." "Cool. Can we go to the Science Museum?" "Absolutely." After we hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. Was David exaggerating? Was this his way of punishing me? Or was Alex really struggling and just putting on a brave face for me? The next day, I got a group text from my mother, my sister Julie, and my Aunt Karen. My mom had started it. The text said, "Family dinner this Sunday. Everyone's coming. You should be here." I texted back, "I'm in New York. I can't just fly back for a dinner with 3 days' notice." Julie responded, "See, this is what we're talking about. You can't even make time for family anymore. My aunt chimed in. Your son needs you and you're worried about a dinner. Priorities, sweetie. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I typed, I have a work commitment. I can't drop everything last minute, and I see Alex every month. My mother, once a month. You see your son once a month. When he was living with you, you saw him every day. Do you even hear yourself? I stopped responding. There was no point. They'd already decided I was the villain. That weekend, I found out through a mutual friend that David had started dating someone. Her name was Emily, she was 29, and she worked as a nurse. According to my friend, she was really sweet and great with Alex. I told myself I was fine with it. David and I had been divorced for over a year. He was allowed to date. But then I started thinking, what if Emily moved in? What if Alex started calling her mom? What if he bonded with her more than me because she was actually there? I tried to push those thoughts away, but they kept creeping back in, especially at night. 2 weeks later, I flew back to Chicago for my monthly weekend with Alex. When I picked him up from David's house, I met Emily for the first time. She was standing in the doorway with David, her hand on his shoulder, smiling like she belonged there. You must be Alex's mom. I've heard so much about you. She extended her hand. I shook it, forcing a smile. Nice to meet you. Alex came barreling down the stairs with his backpack. Mom, can Emily come with us to the museum? She really likes science stuff too. My heart sank. Buddy, this is our special time together. Maybe another time. Emily jumped in. Oh, I totally understand. You guys have fun. Alex has been so excited all week. All week. Like she'd been there all week. Like she lived there. Maybe she did. I didn't know. In the car, I asked Alex casually, So, Emily seems nice. Do you see her a lot? Yeah, she comes over for dinner sometimes. She makes really good tacos, and she knows how to play Minecraft. That's great, honey. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. At the science museum, everything felt off. Alex was distracted, constantly asking if we could FaceTime Emily to show her exhibits. At one point, he said, Emily would love this. She told me about black holes last week. I tried not to let it show on my face, but I felt like I was being replaced. This woman who'd known my son for maybe a month was becoming a fixture in his life while I was on the periphery. That night, back at my hotel with Alex, I got a call from my sister Julie. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Hey, she said, her voice tight. Mom told me you're in town and you didn't even let us know. I'm here for the weekend with Alex. I have limited time. Right. Limited time. You know what? I'm just going to say it. We all think you're making a huge mistake. Mom's heartbroken. Alex is suffering. Alex is fine. I just spent the whole day with him. He's 8. He doesn't know how to tell you he's not fine. David said the therapist thinks the custody arrangement is causing him anxiety. David said that. Did the therapist actually say that, or is that David's interpretation? Why would he lie? I don't know, Julie. Maybe because he's been judging me for this decision since day one. Maybe because his whole family has decided I'm a monster. Well, if the shoe fits... I hung up on her. I actually hung up on my own sister. Alex was in the bathroom brushing his teeth. I sat on the hotel bed trying to calm down. When he came out in his pajamas, he looked at me and said, Are you okay, Mom? You look sad. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just tired. Do you like your job in New York? I do, very much. Good. He climbed into bed. I think it's cool that you're an architect. I told my class about the building you're designing. You did? Yeah. And I showed them the pictures you sent me. Everyone thought it was really cool. I hugged him tight. I love you so much. You know that, right? I know, Mom. But lying in the hotel bed that night, listening to him sleep next to me, I wondered if love was enough. If calling every night was enough. If one weekend a month was enough. Monday morning, I flew back to New York. That afternoon, I got an email from David with the subject line, "Custody Discussion." The email said, "I think we need to revisit our arrangement. Alex's therapist believes stability and consistency are crucial at his age. I'm not trying to keep you from him, but I think we should reduce the travel for now. Maybe instead of you coming here monthly, we do quarterly visits, and we increase the video calls. I think all the back and forth is disrupting his routine." I read it 3 times, my hands shaking. Quarterly. He wanted to reduce my time with Alex to every 3 months. I called him immediately. "Are you serious right now? You want to see me less?" "It's not about what I want. It's about what's best for Alex." "And you think seeing his mother 4 times a year is what's best?" "I think consistency is what's best. You made the choice to leave. Now we're dealing with the consequences." "I have legal custody rights, David. You can't just decide." "I'm not deciding anything unilaterally. I'm suggesting we discuss it. But if you force the issue, I'll petition the court for a modification based on the therapist's recommendation." "You're threatening me." "I'm trying to do what's right for our son. Maybe you should try that too." He hung up. I sat in my office, overlooking the Manhattan skyline, and felt my entire world crumbling. I'd worked so hard to get here. I'd sacrificed so much. And now David was trying to take away even the limited time I had with Alex. That evening, I got a text from Linda, David's mom. "I hope you're proud of yourself. That poor boy cries for you at night. But I guess your fancy job is worth it." Then a message from my mother. "Julie told me you hung up on her. This is what you've become? Someone who doesn't have time for family?" And then, the worst one, from my Aunt Karen in the family group chat. "I'm just going to say what everyone's thinking. You're a bad mother. A good mother would never choose a career over her child. You should be ashamed." My sister liked the message. I turned off my phone and poured myself a glass of wine, then another, then another. The next morning, hungover and exhausted, I called my therapist for an emergency session. I told her everything. The therapist recommendation, David's email, my family's messages. She asked me, "Do you think you made the wrong decision?" I said, "I don't know anymore. Everyone in my life is telling me I did. Maybe they're right." "But what do you think?" I think if I were a man, no one would question this. I think fathers relocate for jobs all the time, and no one calls them bad parents. I think I'm being held to a different standard." "That may be true," she said. "But how does that change your specific situation?" "It doesn't. That's the problem. Whether it's fair or not, I'm living with the consequences. And those consequences are that my son might be struggling, my ex-husband is trying to reduce my custody time, and my entire family hates me. What do you want to do?" I didn't have an answer. That night, I called Alex at our usual time. He seemed fine again, chatty and happy. He told me about a project at school. He asked when I was coming back. I said 3 weeks, like we'd planned. Daddy said maybe we should do video calls more and visits less. What do you think? My heart stopped. He talked to you about that? Yeah. He said traveling might be tiring for me, but I said I like when you visit. You do? Yeah, it's fun. We always do cool stuff. What did Daddy say to that? He said we'd see. After we hung up, I sent David a text. Don't involve Alex in custody discussions. That's between us. He responded, I asked him how he felt. I'm allowed to talk to my son. Not about this. Not when you're trying to change our agreement. I'm doing what's best for him. You should try it. I wanted to scream. The following weekend, I got a Facebook notification. My sister had posted a long status about parents who abandon their responsibilities. She didn't name me, but she tagged our mother and several family members who knew my situation. The comments were full of agreement. So true. Some people are just selfish. Children deserve better. I messaged her. Take it down, Julie. She responded, it's my page. I can post what I want. Everyone knows you're talking about me. Then maybe you should think about why that is. I unfriended her. Then I unfriended my Aunt Karen. Then I deactivated my Facebook entirely. But the damage was done. I felt isolated, attacked from all sides. My family hated me. David was threatening my custody. Even my best friend Sarah had been distant. I threw myself into work. I stayed at the office until 10 p.m. most nights. I volunteered for extra projects. My boss praised me, told me I was exceeding expectations. But every compliment felt hollow because in the back of my mind, I heard my mother's voice. No job is worth abandoning your child. 3 weeks later, I flew back to Chicago. This time, when I picked up Alex, Emily answered the door. David's running late from work, she explained. He should be back in 20 minutes. Do you want to wait inside? I didn't want to, but Alex was already grabbing his stuff. I stood awkwardly in the entryway of what used to be my house. Emily made small talk. Alex is such a great kid. You and David did such a good job raising him. I wanted to say, I'm still raising him, but I just nodded. When David got home, he barely looked at me. Have fun, he said to Alex. I'll see you Sunday night. In the car, Alex said, I think Daddy's gonna ask Emily to move in. Everything stopped. He told you that? No, but I heard them talking about it. Do you think she will? I don't know, buddy. How would you feel about that? He shrugged. She's nice. It might be cool. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Yeah, it might be. That weekend with Alex was harder than usual. I kept thinking about Emily moving in, becoming a constant presence in his life. Being there for breakfast, for homework, for bedtime. All the things I used to do. On Sunday, when I dropped Alex off, David asked if we could talk privately. We stood on the porch while Alex ran inside. I'm filing for a custody modification, David said flatly. The therapist wrote a letter supporting it. She thinks the current arrangement is causing Alex unnecessary stress. You're doing this to punish me. I'm doing this for Alex. If you can't see the difference, that's on you. I want to talk to the therapist myself. You're welcome to, but it won't change anything. The facts are the facts. You chose to move across the country. You chose your career. Now you need to accept the consequences. I flew back to New York that night feeling defeated. For the first time since making this decision, I wondered if I'd made a terrible, irreversible mistake. The custody hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks out. I hired a lawyer in Chicago, which meant flying back for multiple consultations. Between legal fees, flights, and hotels, I was burning through my savings despite my high salary. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd taken this job for financial security, and now I was spending thousands to fight for time with my son. My lawyer, Margaret, was blunt during our first meeting. I'll be honest with you. Judges tend to favor stability for children. Your ex-husband has maintained the status quo. Same house, same school, same community. You're the one who relocated. So, I'm being punished for advancing my career? Not punished. But in family court, the child's best interest is paramount, and consistency weighs heavily. What about fathers who relocate for work? Does the court take their children away? She sighed. Statistically, mothers are held to different standards. It's not right, but it's reality. We'll argue that your current arrangement is working, that Alex is adjusting well, and that reducing your parenting time serves no purpose except to alienate you from your child. His therapist disagrees, apparently. We'll cross-examine the therapist. Therapists' opinions aren't infallible, and we can argue that any adjustment issues are normal for a child of divorce, not specific to the custody schedule. I left that meeting feeling slightly better, but still terrified. That week, I talked to Alex's therapist on the phone. Her name was Dr. Patricia Morrison. She was polite but firm. Alex has expressed feelings of loss and confusion regarding your move, she explained. He's struggling to understand why you left. I didn't leave him. I relocated for work. We still talk every day. To an 8-year-old, the distinction isn't clear. He knows his mother used to be here and now she's not. That's created anxiety. So, what are you recommending? That I never see him? Of course not. I'm recommending a modification that prioritizes stability while maintaining your relationship. Less frequent transitions might actually strengthen your bond during the visits you do have. Or it might make me a stranger to my own son. She didn't respond to that. I asked, "Did David tell you to recommend this?" My recommendation is based solely on Alex's well-being, not parental preferences. But I couldn't shake the feeling that David had influenced her somehow. Maybe not directly, but by framing the situation in a certain way, by emphasizing my absence rather than my presence, by making it seem like I'd abandoned Alex rather than made a difficult choice about our family structure. 2 weeks before the hearing, everything exploded. I was in a major presentation at work, showcasing our designs to a potential client worth $3 million to the firm. My phone was on silent, but I could see it lighting up repeatedly on the table next to my notes. I ignored it. The presentation was crucial. When it ended, successfully, the client loved our concepts. I checked my phone. 17 missed calls. Messages from David, from Linda, from my mother, from the school. My hands shook as I opened David's text. "Alex had an accident at school. He's okay, but we're at the ER. Call me." I called immediately, walking quickly to an empty conference room. David answered on the first ring. "What happened? Is he okay?" "He fell off the monkey bars, broke his arm. They're setting it now." "I'm getting on the next flight." "Don't. Seriously, it's under control. He's fine. They gave him pain meds and he's already joking around." "He broke his arm, David. I'm coming." "There's nothing you can do here that I'm not already doing. The arm will be in a cast for 6 weeks. You can see it this weekend when you come anyway." "I want to be there now." "Well, you're not. That's the choice you made." The line went dead. I stood there, phone in hand, feeling like the world's worst mother. My son was in the hospital and I was 800 miles away. I'd been in a meeting, focused on work, while he was hurt and scared. I checked flights anyway. The next one to Chicago didn't leave until 7 p.m., wouldn't arrive until 10 p.m. By then, visiting hours would be over. David was right. Logistically, there was no point. But emotionally, I felt like I was drowning. I called Alex's phone. David had gotten him one of those kids' phones for emergencies. He answered, his voice groggy from the pain medication. "Hey, Mom. Baby, I heard what happened. How are you feeling?" "My arm really hurt, but they gave me medicine. And I get a cast. I'm gonna ask everyone to sign it." "I wish I could be there to sign it first." "It's okay. You'll sign it this weekend." "I love you so much, sweetheart." "Love you too, Mom." He sounded fine. Tired, but fine. Yet I felt like I'd failed some fundamental test of motherhood. That evening, I got a text from Linda. "Where's his mother?" you ask. "Probably at some fancy dinner in New York. Too busy for her injured son." Then my mother called. "Linda told me what happened. You didn't fly back?" David said there was no point, that Alex was fine. "Your son broke his arm, and you're taking your ex-husband's word that you don't need to be there? What is wrong with you?" "I'm coming this weekend like planned. This weekend. 3 days from now. He needed you today." "Mom, I can't just drop everything every time something happens." "Every time? This is the first time your child has been hospitalized. If you can't drop everything for that, what kind of mother are you?" I said something I shouldn't have. I said, "The kind who has a career, like fathers do." She hung up on me. I sat in my apartment that night, looking at the Manhattan skyline, and felt completely alone. I'd alienated my family. My ex-husband was using my son's accident as ammunition. And I couldn't shake the image of Alex in that hospital, asking for me and me not being there. The next morning, I went to my boss and asked for emergency leave for the day after next, the Friday before my scheduled weekend with Alex. I wanted to fly out early, see him as soon as school ended, be there the entire weekend plus Monday. My boss, Richard, frowned. "We have the client follow-up meeting Monday morning. Your lead on this project." "I know, but my son was injured." "I heard you mention that yesterday. Broken arm, right? Kids are resilient. He'll be fine. I just need 1 extra day." Richard leaned back in his chair. "Look, I understand you have parental obligations. We all have personal lives. But this is a critical juncture in the project. I need to know you're committed." The implication hung in the air. My commitment was being questioned. The very thing I'd moved here for, sacrificed so much for, was now in jeopardy because I wanted 1 extra day with my injured son. "I'm committed," I said. "I'll be at the Monday meeting." I flew to Chicago Friday evening instead of Saturday morning. When I picked Alex up from school, he ran to me with his bright blue cast, grinning. "Look, Mom, everyone signed it already, but I saved a spot for you right here." He pointed to a blank space on his forearm. I signed it with a silver Sharpie. "Love you forever, Mom," with a heart. That night at the hotel, I asked him, "Were you scared when you fell?" "Yeah, it hurt really bad. I cried." "Did you ask for me?" He looked confused. "You weren't there. You're in New York." "But did you want me there?" "I wanted Daddy. He came really fast from his work, and then Emily came too. She bought me a stuffed dinosaur." He showed me the dinosaur, a blue stegosaurus. Something inside me cracked. My son had been hurt and scared, and he'd wanted his father. Not me. Not even thought of me. Because I wasn't part of his everyday life anymore. Saturday, we went to the UA aquarium. Sunday, we made pancakes and watched movies. Monday morning, I had to leave early to catch my flight for the meeting. Alex cried when I dropped him off at David's. "I don't want you to go. You just got here." "I know, baby, but I have to work. I'll see you in 3 weeks." "That's so long." "We'll talk every night, remember?" He nodded, wiping his eyes, and went inside. Through the window, I saw Emily appear and put her hand on his shoulder, comforting him. Doing what I should be doing. The Monday meeting went well. The client signed a contract. Richard praised me publicly. "This is why we brought you on board," he said. "This level of commitment and excellence." I smiled and accepted the congratulations. Inside, I felt hollow. The custody hearing was 2 weeks later. I flew back to Chicago the night before. Margaret and I met to prepare. She warned me, "David's lawyer is going to paint you as choosing career over child. Stay calm. Don't get defensive. Emphasize the quality of your relationship with Alex, the consistency of your contact, your financial support. In the courtroom, I saw David with his lawyer, Linda, sitting behind him. My mother was there too, I realized with shock, sitting on David's side of the courtroom. The hearing was brutal. David's lawyer asked me questions designed to make me look selfish. So you chose to move 800 miles away from your 8-year-old son? I relocated for a significant career opportunity while maintaining active custody. Yes or no? You moved 800 miles away. Yes. And you see your son approximately 1 weekend per month. Yes, plus holidays and 6 weeks in summer. 1 weekend per month. Yes or no? Yes. And when your son was hospitalized with a broken arm, you didn't immediately fly back? I spoke with him and his father. He was receiving excellent care. You didn't fly back until 3 days later, correct? Correct. Dr. Morrison testified about Alex's anxiety and her recommendation for less frequent transitions. Under cross-examination, Margaret got her to admit that Alex had never said he didn't want to see me, only that he sometimes felt sad about the distance. Then they called my mother to testify. My own mother. She sat in the witness box and said, "My daughter has always been career-focused. Even when Alex was a baby, she was more interested in her portfolio than in motherhood. This move doesn't surprise me. She's always put herself first." I wanted to scream, to stand up and ask her how she could betray me like this. But Margaret squeezed my arm, keeping me in my seat. When it was my turn to testify, I tried to explain. I love my son more than anything. This decision wasn't about choosing career over him. It was about modeling for him that parents, that mothers, can be ambitious and successful while still being loving and present. I talk to him every single day. I fly back monthly despite the expense and exhaustion. I pay child support that exceeds what's required. I'm trying to maintain both parts of my identity, mother and professional, and I'm being vilified for it. The judge, a woman in her 60s, looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. David's lawyer asked me, "If you could do it over, would you still move to New York?" I hesitated. In that moment, I knew the right answer for the case was no. Say I regretted it, that I'd realized my mistake, that I'd move back tomorrow if I could. But I couldn't lie under oath, and I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Yes, I said, I would, because I believe the alternative, staying and resenting my lost opportunities, would have made me a worse mother than being physically distant, but emotionally present and fulfilled. The courtroom was silent. The judge took a week to rule. During that week, I barely functioned. I went through the motions at work. I talked to Alex every night, my heart breaking at every, "I miss you, Mom." The ruling came via email from Margaret. Modified custody arrangement approved. You retain legal custody, but physical custody reduced to 1 weekend per quarter, plus 2 weeks in summer and alternating major holidays. 4 weekends a year, 28 days plus holidays. I read it 3 times before it sank in. I'd lost. The court had decided that my son was better off without me in his regular life. I called Margaret. "Can we appeal?" "We can try, but judges have broad discretion in custody matters. And honestly, the best interest standard is vague enough that appeals rarely succeed." "So that's it? I'm just a quarterly visitor now." "I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you wanted." I hung up and did something I hadn't done in years. I got completely drunk. Not wine with dinner drunk. Whiskey until I couldn't feel anything drunk. The next morning, hungover and devastated, I had to call Alex and tell him. "So I won't see you next month?" he asked, his voice small. "Nobody. Not until after Christmas, but we'll talk every day still. That's so long, Mom. I know. I'm so sorry. Why did the judge decide that? How do you explain to an 8-year-old that the court system decided his mother doesn't deserve regular time with him? It's complicated, sweetheart. But it doesn't change how much I love you. After we hung up, I sat in my expensive Brooklyn apartment, looking at my expensive view, working my expensive, prestigious job, and wondered if it was worth it. My phone buzzed. A text from Linda. Maybe now you'll realize what you've done. You threw away your son for a job. Hope it was worth it. Then my sister. The court saw what we all saw. You're not fit to be a primary parent. At least now Alex can have some stability. Then, most painfully, from my mother. I hope you're happy with your choices. You've lost your son, your family, and your integrity, but at least you have your career. I blocked all of them. That weekend, I didn't get out of bed except to use the bathroom. I called in sick to work Friday and Monday. I didn't answer my phone. I just lay there, replaying every decision, every choice, wondering where it all went wrong. Was it moving to New York? Was it divorcing David? Was it taking that first promotion when Alex was 3? Was it having a child at all when I knew I had career ambitions? On Tuesday, I forced myself to get up, shower, and go to work. Richard called me into his office. Heard you were sick. Feeling better? Yes, thank you. Good. Because we've got another major project and I want you leading it. International client, huge prestige, but it'll require some travel, probably 1 week per month in Dubai for the next 6 months. A year ago, even 6 months ago, I would have jumped at this opportunity. But now, all I could think was, that's 1 more week away from the already limited time I have with Alex. Can I think about it? Richard's expression cooled. This isn't really a think about it kind of offer. This is the kind of opportunity that defines careers. I understand. I just need 24 hours. Fine. But I need an answer by tomorrow. I went back to my desk and stared at my computer screen, unable to focus. Everything I'd sacrificed for this career, and I wasn't even sure I wanted it anymore. That night, I called Alex at our regular time. He was excited because his class was doing a project on architecture, and he'd volunteered me to do a video call with them. Can you do it, Mom? The teacher said any Friday would work. Of course I can, buddy. That sounds amazing. I'm gonna tell everyone about the building you're designing. They're gonna think it's so cool. His enthusiasm was genuine. He was proud of me. Despite everything, he was proud of his mother. After we hung up, I made a decision. The next morning, I went to Richard's office and turned down the Dubai project. I need to prioritize my son right now, I told him. I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I can't commit to that level of travel. He looked disappointed. I thought you were all in on your career here. I am, but I'm also all in on being a mother. I need to find a balance. In this industry, balance usually means falling behind. Then I'll fall behind. I walked out of his office knowing I'd probably just torpedoed my trajectory at the firm. But for the first time in months, I felt like I'd made a decision based on what I actually wanted, not what I thought I should want. The following week, I did the video call with Alex's class. 25 8-year-olds asking me questions about buildings and design. Alex beamed the entire time, interjecting with, "That's my mom," whenever I answered something. Afterwards, his teacher emailed me. "Thank you so much for taking the time. Alex talks about you constantly. He's very proud of you." I cried reading that email because despite everything, the custody battle, the judgment, the loss of time with him, my son was still proud of me Now, 3 months after the custody modification, here's where things stand. I see Alex one weekend every 3 months. We talk every single night on video chat. I'm present for every school event I can be via Zoom. I fly back for his birthday, for his school play, for anything important. It costs a fortune and exhausts me, but I do it. David and Emily got engaged. Alex will be the ring bearer at their wedding. He's happy about it. She's good to him, I can tell. That should comfort me, and in some ways it does. But it also hurts, knowing another woman is there for the daily moments I'm missing. My family still doesn't speak to me, except for occasional guilt-inducing texts from my mother. My career has plateaued since I turned down the Dubai project. I'm still at the firm, still working on good projects, but I'm no longer the golden child. Richard assigns the high-profile opportunities to others now. I'm lonely. Dating in New York is hard enough without the baggage of, I gave up custody of my son to move here. The few men I've gone out with either think I'm a monster or assume I'm completely career-obsessed with no time for relationships. But here's what haunts me. I don't entirely regret my decision. I should, right? I should look back and think, I made a terrible mistake. But when I'm honest with myself, I don't. I love my job. I love the work I'm doing. I love living in New York. I love the person I've become professionally. What I regret is that I had to choose. I regret that society and the court system couldn't accept a model where a mother could be less than primary custodian and still be a good mother. I regret that David got to keep his career, his location, his family, and his son, while I had to sacrifice at least half of those things. I regret that having it all is apparently still impossible for women, despite what we've been told. But do I regret pursuing my career ambitions? No. And maybe that makes me the villain everyone says I am. So here's what I'm asking. Am I the asshole for giving up primary custody of my son to advance my career? For choosing my own fulfillment over daily presence in his life? For believing that being a present, engaged parent during limited time is enough? Everyone in my life says yes. The court system says yes. Society says yes. But I still don't know what I think. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe to hear more stories like this. And I want to know, am I the villain here? Rate my situation from 0 to 10, where 0 is you're a monster, and 10 is you did nothing wrong. Drop your rating and your honest opinion in the comments. I can take it. At this point, I've heard it all.